Let's talk Tanya for the 11th of Shevat of a leap year. Yesterday we concluded by asking how is it that we can leverage the hidden love for God that we all have to use it in our everyday battles and struggles against our animal soul. And we said that in order to answer this question, it's going to take us a little while, but we first need to explore the topic of Achdus Hashem, which is God's unity. The next 3 chapters in Tanya, which is going to be the next probably 7 to 8 segments, are from the deepest in Tanya. The second part of Tanya, the second book of Tanya called Shar Yichud V'Hamuna, is all about this topic. And the next 3 chapters are, to a certain extent, a condensed version of many of the main ideas of Shar HaYichud V'Hamuna. Where are we heading to? Once we understand what Achdus Hashem is, the unity of God is, and the opposite of God, of the unity of God, which is Avodah Zarah, which is idolatry, we are going to understand that every single Avera, every single sin is actually tantamount to Avodah Zarah, to idolatry, and therefore if we can leverage the hidden love, if the hidden love comes to life to prevent us from falling prey to idolatry, it can actually also help us in abstaining from doing any Avera. Achdus Hashem, the unity of God, and its opposite, Avodah Zarah, are very fundamental in Judaism. We don't need more evidence for this than the fact that when God appeared to our nation at Mount Sinai, God spoke to us once. As a nation, God spoke to us exactly once. And that was when he appeared on Mount Sinai. He told us the Aseres Hadibros, he told us the 10 commandments. But the only 2 commandments which he actually spelled out clearly and all the Jews heard directly from God were the first 2 commandments. Commandment number 1, I am your God, which translates into the commandment to believe in one God. And commandment number 2, Lo yeh l'cha elokim acherim, not to have any other gods, the prohibition against idolatry. That means, as a nation, we heard from God exactly 2 things. I am your God, I am one God, and don't have any other gods or powers aside from me. And this led our sages to tell us that the entire Torah is encapsulated actually in these 2 commandments. All the mitzvos, I say, all the positive commandments, all our obligations, the 248 positive mitzvos of the Torah are encapsulated in Anochi Hashem Elikecha, and the mitzvah to believe in one God. And all the Averis, all the sins, what we call the 365 negative commandments, they're all encapsulated in the prohibition against idolatry. And over the coming chapters, we are going to figure out how that is. But first we have to understand, what does it mean when we say Achdus Hashem, we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, there's only one God. What is the depth and significance in that? On a very simple level, we have one God, not more than one. But Chassidus comes and teaches us there's something much deeper going on over here. It's something much deeper than a numbers game saying there's one God and not 2 and not 3 and not 4, God forbid. But rather, one God means not only there is only one God, but there's actually only one existence. The only thing that is God himself. But you might say, how about all the other things that there are? Just look around you. How many things do you see? How about me? I exist. How can we say, Ein oid milvadei, there is nothing other than Hashem, nothing besides Hashem? And Chassidus explains at length in other places, and over here very, very briefly, that ultimately we believe that everything that exists is being pushed into existence at every single moment by God's creative powers. If for one moment God would stop creating the world would revert to nothingness. If that's the case, does the world really exist? No, the world doesn't really exist. The world is being existed. The world is being at every moment being granted existence, but it, in and of itself, innately does not exist. Proof being that if God stopped creating it for a moment, it wouldn't exist anymore. If that's the case, the only thing that really exists, the only thing that really is Hashem. That is the deepest idea of Achdus Hashem. The deepest idea of the unity and the oneness of God, not one God, but one entity, Hashem, and everything else that we might see is only an expression and an outgrowth of this true entity, of this true mitzvos, which is God. In tomorrow's Tanya, we're going to find out that not only is God the only true existence, but although that God is creating everything, he remains relatively unimpacted by all that he does and all that he creates.